Hey folks, welcome back to Trailmakers. Last time we made our first attempt at a helicopter, and while it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to, a little bit of tinkering off camera got it to the point where it's at least usable. I have made some changes, so let me show you real quick what they are. First of all, we had this idea to have stabilizing thrusters, and I've moved them further out from the body of the craft in order to give them additional torque. Second, I've consolidated my helicopter blades into two counter-rotating platforms. So we originally had these split up, and we had 4 helicopter engines in use. The reason we need that is when this starts rotating, it applies gyroscopic force and begins like flinging the body out of control. So having the bottom one, if I can select it here, having the bottom engine configured with a speed of -10 means it goes in the reverse direction and counterbalances the gyroscopic force of the top one. I've also moved it down closer to the body. It turns out that, contrary to what I thought, you want them pretty close. You want the center of lift close to the center of mass so that you don't get that pendulum effect, kind of reinforcing the instability. So with all that, and by setting the speeds to 10 and -10 instead of a pair of 5s, I've managed to get this relatively stable enough that I can kind of maneuver it. So, we're going to take off. We're going to head up to that sky island up there with all the sensors and logic in it, and we're going to try to grab something and bring it back down to land. I've switched to the helicopter orbit. Let me make sure I have that. Helicopter chase, steady bird's eye perspective. So this doesn't kind of like change on me. It lets me maintain a better control. And we're going to see if we can get up there. So already you can see it's a lot more stable than it was. And we're able to at least ascend fairly straightforwardly. So we're just going to rise up into the sky here using our thrusters to try to keep ourselves nice and level. We're just going to go above the island and then come down to it. And you can see it's much more stable than it had been. And I'm able to use the thrusters to kind of keep it stabilized. Now, going in the direction I want to go is still a little bit tricky. A little bit hard to figure out. We're going to lean back a little bit here to back away from the island. But once we get high enough, we can take ourselves over and land. Okay, so one problem I do have is the ability to turn. So we kind of have to, like, tilt our way towards where we want to go. All right, let's try to land. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Okay, so we've landed. All right, now let's take a look and figure out which one of these we want. So the AND logic gate, that would allow us to say if one input and another, then do something with the control block. But right now we don't have any good logical control. So for example, we could say, like, if I'm pressing the right trigger and the front engine is, you know, active, then activate the back engine, but that doesn't really help us. What we're looking for is one of these sensor blocks to figure out if we can use that to auto-stabilize the craft. There's an OR logic gate. So if we can auto-stabilize the craft so that I don't have to do it with the stick, then we can get into using our controls to actually fly that thing and kind of make our way around. Let's see what else we have here. This is a speed sensor. So we could use this to set a fixed speed. So for example, if we were in a car and we wanted to limit it to 60, we could say turn off the engine or stop applying power if we're going too fast, or, you know, if we're going too slow, we can go ahead. We could get an auto drive, right? Something like that. But that's not going to help us with our friend the helicopter. What do we have over here? The distance sensor. Okay. So this one I'm not sure how we would use. I guess we could, like, combine this with the speed sensor, maybe, and allow us to auto-slow ourselves if we're approaching a wall, or... Not quite sure how we'd use the distance sensor on the helicopter. I guess what we could do with this is maintain a certain altitude, right? So if we attach this to the helicopter blades, we could, for example, set it to a distance of 300 meters from the ground or 200 meters from the ground. And when we're below that, engage the helicopter blades. And when we're above that, turn them off. So that would be one way to kind of maneuver with a fixed altitude. I'm sure there's plenty of other ways we could use this, but this is not the one we want either. What else do we have? Altitude sensor. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's the one I was thinking of. The altitude sensor versus the distance sensor. I mean, a lot of these sensors you could use to automatically set the angle of, like, a hinge, for example. So let's say we wanted to set a hinge to, because the hinges start in the middle of their angle, right? So let's say we wanted to fix an angle at like 30%, right? Well, there's no way to do that without using a control stick right now. But if we set this to, like, if the front of the vehicle is within 5 meters, then activate this hinge and lock it in position. This would be a way to do something like that, depending on what we targeted it with. And then the altitude sensor we could use to kind of control the height of the vehicle, the helicopter. So what about this one? That's the XOR logic gate. That's the exclusive OR, which means one or the other, but not both. And then in the middle here, what do we have? The angle sensor. Yes. Now this is the one I want. So if the ship is tipping, if we detect an angle away from, if this sensor detects an angle that's different from the one we want, we automatically activate one of the thrusters. So I want to retrieve this block, and we're going to try to do that right now. Let's go ahead and get close with the ship so we don't have to fiddle around too much. Let's just position ourselves kind of like this, and then switch over. Okay. Now we got to pick it up. I've turned on the tractor beam. It's in the ground, but so you can't see it right now, but I've turned it on. And now we've picked it up. Okay. We've picked it up. So all we got to do now is get home. Get somewhere home. Get to a recovery. There's one down there. And we're in that direction, so we'll try and land it by this drone over here in front of us. We're just gonna fall out of the sky for a while. Okay, we're gonna overshoot here if we don't arrest our forward momentum. So let me get a little bit of that going. Okay, and then we'll fall here. We're pretty much over the top of it now. So we just gotta avoid crashing. Or overshooting. Okay. Let's back up. Okay, that's good. Okay, all right. Now I gotta gently come down here without crashing into a tree. Okay, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. Okay, and we're down. All right, so we've recovered an angle sensor. Let's get this turned in, and then we'll see if we can make it work the way I want it to. Okay. So, the goal with the angle sensor is to make the helicopter easier to control. So I need a nice flat piece of ground in which to work on the build. I guess this will work somewhere in between these trees, right here. Okay, so now we're going to start by just doing the left and right and see if we can make that work. One thing I learned while kind of checking out some of these YouTube videos was the cockpit itself is configurable, and it has this disable look around and disable air control, these two checkboxes. So ideally, what I want is not to be attempting to like control the vehicle with how I'm moving the stick. I want the thrusters only to be doing that so that any mistakes I make on stick management don't get translated into air control. So I am going to check this. Okay. And actually, if I go back here, you can see... Let me make sure that works the way I want, because the air control for the cockpit is connected to the rotors as well. So this may actually be wrong. Can I still drive? I can, okay. But I can't really... Well, who knows? Oh, this isn't good. Alright, let me come back into my little area here. I think that's right. I'm not exactly sure what that's doing, but I think that's right. All right, so now the other thing we want to do is on these, we actually want to disable control. So we want to clear the input so that it can't actually be controlled by us. And then the same with these over here. So these are not going to be controlled by us. They're going to be controlled by the angle sensor. So we're going to clear the inputs. I think the speed is fine. Oh, I probably forgot to hit the check mark over here. Clear the input. Okay. And now we're going to go get two of our angle sensors here. And I'm not exactly sure how these work either, but we'll experiment. All right, logic. So an adjustable angle sensor that can be connected to other blocks. It adds a little bit of weight to the vehicle, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and put one on either side of the, I guess it doesn't really matter where they are. I think this, okay, so that needs to be pointed up. I think that chevron seems to be pointed up. So I think that's an indication of how it's meant to be aligned. Let's put it here and then copy one over here. And then let's just take a look at what these things do. All right, so if we configure this, trigger outside, I'm not sure what that means. So there's connections here to what they can control. All right, so adjust the size of the activation threshold in degrees. Adjust the position of the middle point of the activation threshold in degrees. So at the moment, if we tip forward or backwards, I think that's going to adjust it. So we don't actually want these here. We want them... I think we want them forward and backwards like this. Right? So if the... Let's see. The position of the middle point of the activation threshold in degrees. So I'm guessing we want 90 degrees straight up here? I'm not quite sure. The middle point of the activation threshold. So it depends, like, is it 0, 90, 180, 270, 360? Or does it start from where the blue pointer is? If it starts from where the blue pointer is, then 0 is correct, right? And then we want a width of, like, pretty small, probably 5 degrees. Let's just try 5 degrees. And then So when this activates, is there a -5? How does this go? Oh, this is the negative one. The position of the middle point of the activation threshold. So maybe it's the activation threshold is anywhere from where it starts out to let's see. I'm not sure if we want this one on the right or the left. So the activation threshold would be anywhere from 0 or the width would be anywhere from 0 to being completely upside down, or no, maybe just completely sideways. Because if we're upside down, we're screwed. So from 0 to 180 maybe would be the width of the threshold wherein this can activate. So if this turns to the right, anywhere in the 180 degrees over here, we want to activate these, and then the direction, adjust the position of the middle point of the activation threshold in degrees. The middle point would be 90 degrees, I guess. And then if this is tilted, because it's an angle sensor, if it's angled, then we activate these ones to push us back to 0, I'm guessing. I'm sort of trying to figure this out as I go along here. I'm not sure I got that right. Yeah, we did. Okay. So then we move this one over here. Where's the blue sensor? And then we do the same thing because it's facing the other direction. If we tilt that way, we click these to put ourselves back. So maybe this one, anything up to 180 degrees in a direction of 90. And then if this angle sensor goes off, it activates those. So if I've got this right, it should automatically stabilize us on the left and right axis. And the stick no longer controls them. So let's try this. Let's see. Yeah, it's stabilizing us right and left. I think it's working. And I can no longer make myself go like tilt left or right. So we're getting auto-stabilization from the thrusters. The only problem is now we can't really steer anything. We can't go anywhere. So we have to fix that. So we can steer by bouncing forward. I think I'm just going to respawn here. This should bring us back down to the ground. Yeah, okay, so this is working. It's automatically stabilizing. Very nice. Okay. So then we can do the same thing with the front and the back to give us some stabilization there as well. But we want to give it a little bit more leeway because we need to be able to tilt forward or backwards. This is where the and not sensor would come in, right? If the angle sensor fires and I'm not controlling it directly, then we want the angle sensor to take over. If I am controlling directly, we want to let it happen. So let's get 2 more of these. All right, where is the blue arrow? All right. Okay, we'll get 2 more of these. All right. So this one, wait, is this right? Oh, interesting. Yeah, okay. The chevron changed. Oh, the blue thing is indicating, I think, the angle of activation, right? So hold on. If we change this, what happens if we change this to 0? Then it moves like that. Okay. So what do we want as the, what do we actually want as the range? We want it to be able to tip maybe 10 degrees forward and 10 degrees back. So if the okay, now I understand what the chevron is. If the chevron is inside the blue, then it activates. So we want 160 degrees with a 90-degree direction. Right, so now we can tip forward a little bit without activating this, but once it gets in there, then it starts activating. So maybe we want even a little bit more. No, that's a pretty good angle to start with. Okay. So if we're tipping forward by more than 10 degrees, then we activate this. I guess it has to be attached. Yeah. So if we're tipping forward more than 10 degrees, we activate this one. And then here, okay, so here the blue's on the wrong side. So we want this to be -90? Is that right? Yeah, -90 for the middle of the point. So we want that darting forward. Or I guess it doesn't matter. 90 degrees. Because if it's pointing backwards, we can still tell whether we're tipping. So if we're tipping backwards by 160 degrees, then we fire the rear ones. If we're tipping backwards, yeah, okay. Okay, so then we still have the problem of not being able to turn, and I think we're going to use another helicopter engine for that. So we can use the helicopter engine, and the fact that it rotates stuff around it with the gyroscopic force to actually turn the ship. So let me copy this down here. Nice. Okay. And then we select the helicopter engine, configure it. So I want to turn right with the right stick and left with the, by pressing the left stick left, like that. And we want to turn the speed probably way down. Let's start with 1 for now. Not 10. Because we don't want to like, we don't want to go like flipping out of the sky. We just want to be able to rotate the ship. Okay. So let's do that. Let's save that. And let's try flying this thing again. So we'll have some oh, okay, okay, wait. I think I got the things reversed. Because it started flipping out. So we want you to, apparently we want, if we're backwards, well, it doesn't seem like it should work that way to me, but it was flipping us out. So maybe it's those two? And then this one controls that one? So if we're but it seems like if we're forward, that should activate that one and make us go more forward, but I'm not quite sure. Let me just go straight up. Okay, now it's sort of working. Okay, I think we've got our pistons causing problems. Well, let's see what happens if I try and rotate the ship. Okay, so it is working, but it's the speed is too slow. All right. So we've got some problems, but we're very close to having a functional, drivable ship here. I think. Yeah, when this collapses. Okay, I see the problem. When the piston collapses here, it's slamming the thing into this. So I guess we can't have this inside. It's got to be up top, which is going to look a little weird, but it should work. I think that was what was causing the clacking. Let's put this speed up to 2.5, maybe? Let's try that. I have to admit, I'm a little confused about the forward-backwards angle sensors. So... Oh, I get it. No, I get it now. Okay. So I was thinking the chevron rotated. The chevron always points up. So when this tilts forward, it brings the blue line into the sensor. And that's why it needs to activate the front ones, right? Yeah, okay, okay. So the chevron always points up, and as the ship tilts, the blue wedge moves around. So if we just pull this down for a second, this always points straight up, and then as the ship rotates forward, the blue wedge moves in, activates the sensor, kicks in the front, and pushes the ship backwards. Okay, all right. I think we've got it now. All right. So we go up. We're getting auto-stabilization here. We can tilt ourselves forward a little bit to get some forward movement, and then the auto-stabilization kicks in, right? And then we can turn ourselves right or left. I can see... Hold on. I need a different camera. I can see the rotation of the third what's-a-jiggy, but it's not strong enough here. So it was better when it was inside, when it was closer to the center of mass. What's going on with that? Why is it still clacking around? So we do need to move this around somehow. It shouldn't affect the center of mass too much like that. Let's try that. Yeah, there's definitely a problem with the pistons. I think it's because I connected these things to the tractor beam. So let's move them off. Okay, that's connected. That's connected. That's connected, and we can also move these around to adjust the center of mass here. Let's turn forces on to just take a quick look. So the center of mass is a little bit forward at the moment. We can kind of play around with the location of these. It's a little bit tough. Let's move you back. Was it forward? Yeah. Let's move you back. Okay. And let's move you back. What does that do? That's better. It's getting a little complicated in here. And then we can move. Yeah, it's this other helicopter engine. We can move you that far. I don't know what is this block? Oh, that's the tube. Wait, what? Oh, we don't need that. Okay. We actually want to move this one back, don't we? I gotta go find it. That's not gonna work. That will. Okay. Alright, things are looking good. Things are looking good. I think we're getting close to a final or a workable build here. Let's check it out. Okay, we've got some auto-stabilization. Okay, I've got the controls on the turning mechanism reversed by accident here. So the last thing we need to do is flip this upside down so that the controls work correctly. Let's try it. Okay, so now if I press the left stick to the right, we start turning to the right. Very nice. And then I can press forward to get a little bit of forward momentum. We auto-stabilize. So I basically just need to push things a little bit forward. And then I can pretty much drive to where I want to go. Let's turn right. Let's go over here. Oh, this is so cool. This is now functional. I don't even have to do anything. It just auto-stabilizes itself for me. Let's turn towards the beam of light there. So obviously it's not super aerodynamic. And actually going down is going to be harder than I sort of thought. I wonder if I hit the... Can I reverse? No, that pushes me down. Okay. Okay, all right. So I've turned the controls off. We're slowly falling. Can I land right on this drone? I can turn myself. Very nice. There's a little bit of momentum to the turning. So we fall slowly. We fall pretty slowly here. It's still not the most controllable, but actually the slow fall is probably a good thing. And look at the auto-stabilization. How about that? Wow. All right, so we've got our basic helicopter running. I don't think you can, I don't know if you can fairly call it a helicopter. I mean, it's more of a hovercraft, really, than a helicopter. But it's drivable now. It's controllable. The auto-stabilization with the thrusters works. It keeps it stable in flight. It's noisy AF. It's definitely very loud and kind of like erratic because of the logic controlling the thrusters, but it's functional, right? So now we can, I think, pretty easily make it back up to the Sky Island up there and start picking up those blocks and bringing them in for collection. Now, the interesting question is this thing strong enough to lift something heavier than a small block? I don't think it's strong enough to lift one of the big blocks, but if we removed quite a lot of the weight of the body here, if we just left a pure skeleton in place, because I was kind of thinking about aerodynamics. Can you really even call this a helicopter? Let's see, I've got 2 more power cores. So actually, if I wanted to, I could even put a couple of jets facing backwards and use those to get some forward momentum as well. Not the most aerodynamic thing ever. I mean, you know, the curves are fine, but the front of this thing is just a block of flat air being hit. But we could get some additional forward momentum, but really all I need to do is lean forward and let the blades pull me, right? But if I took out all of the weight of the body and just left the skeleton intact, I might be able to get this down from 274 to, like, you know, maybe 80 kilograms, maybe 120 kilograms, something like that. Probably maybe not that much, but like 150, which means we'd have 120 to play with. And I don't know how heavy those things are, but I bet we could pick up something pretty heavy. And as we unlock more power cores, we'll be able to build something even more powerful than this. Anyway, the remainder of this episode will be me heading up to the Sky Islands to collect goodies and then bringing them back with our new self-stabilizing hovercopter craft. But we're going to wait for the night to pass because I'm sick of recording in the darkness. So we'll be back in a second once the daylight is available, and then we'll spend the rest of the episode ferrying back up and forth to that Sky Island to retrieve some of those logic gates and stuff. Welcome back, folks. Juliet has made her appearance. We have the sun, so we're going up to the sky. Let's see how well this new vehicle does. Just gonna let it take us straight up here. Let's get ourselves aimed in the right direction. We're headed in the generally the right direction here. Probably need to back stop a little bit. So at this point, I'm less concerned about what I get than just getting everything that's up here. So we'll just go one at a time for whatever's easiest. Actually, I wonder if I can pick up more than one. Could be interesting to try. Let's turn this on and then see if we can pick up a couple of items here. We're drifting forward in the right direction. Let's see if we can pick something up. There's one. There's the XOR logic gate. Let's see if we can pick up something else. Let's get turned around. I don't think I can pick up more than one thing at a time. Yeah, the beam is just not... Okay, it's still not the absolute easiest to control. Yeah, if we were going to pick a second one up, that would have been it. All right. Let's get over to a drop-off point. Now, I have to admit I'm a little bit nervous about going after the collection point on the beach here. I want to fall as quickly as I can, so I'd like to just be vertical for a big chunk of this. It will stabilize us automatically, though. And the blades are kind of like slowing our descent. Let me see if I can just face down and fall for a while. Yeah, I'm worried about this rolling into the sea, but we'll give it a shot. Yeah, if I can keep myself vertical, I can fall a lot more quickly. Maybe we don't have to land right there. We can just take it the rest of the way with one of the other vehicles. Let's just get it over here. I think we'll put it like up here where it's flat, so it can't roll too far without us being able to catch it. And look at that. Just like that, we've got the XOR logic gate. All right. So this is definitely going to work. It's not easy or fast, but it works. Let's go back up. Get another piece. All right, so we'll just go straight up here. We'll not worry too much about our position or our direction. We'll just go straight up. Now, because we have that 10-degree allowance, and because this tends to dip forward, it will move forward on its own. So I do need to kind of like pull back on the stick a little bit here and there to keep us going straight up. That's okay. Just the fact that we can even get there now reliably is amazing. I'm sure other people have built much better and more interesting helicopters than this, or other flying machines, but for me, the fact that this works the way we built it to is just amazing. And this game is a lot of fun. All right, we're getting in position now. Let's go pick up something else. Let's get this difficult one by this tree. Or I guess realistically we could move it with another vehicle before we pick it up, but let's just try. Oh, we almost had it. We almost had it. There we go. Okay. Well, no, it broke part of the ship when we picked it up. Gonna have to try that again. There we go. That's a good pickup. All right, so actually that gives me a pretty good idea of how to do this. I'll just position, I'll land and use the car to position myself and build the vehicle where I want it. Okay. Now we go forwards. We fall down. There's not a great way to fall. I guess, yeah, falling backwards is probably the best. Like this. Yeah. So actually, here's where the and not would come in handy, because I can stop the auto stabilization if I want to. Okay, all right. Let's get it over towards this. We'll do our slow fall down. Drop off our cargo, land. Swap over. And deliver the altitude sensor. All right. There's another piece. Okay, so I'm going to call the episode here. All that I'm going to be doing for... All that I would be doing if I kept recording was continually faring back up to that island to get the rest of those pieces. We'll come back in the next episode with whatever's interesting to show you guys about what I collect up there. But we sort of saw all the pieces early in the episode. There's the altitude and distance sensors, and then the logic gates, and or XOR, what have you. So yeah, I'll go collect all those, and then we'll be back next episode to build something else and do another challenge. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know I did. This was a lot of fun. Finally getting a working flight model going. I have a feeling that what you're going to see next time is me trying to... I'm going to try to locate one of those big boys. What is this? Oh, that's my pod. Can't pick it up. Trying to locate like a very heavy one and seeing how the helicopter responds to that. I'll probably pare it down to the most lightweight, bare bones version of what we already have and see whether I have enough lift to get one of those big boys off the ground or not. Until then, as always, thank you once more for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.